If you cried today, this message is for you. If your eyes filled with tears, even if you tried to hide it, even if no one noticed, know that the universe saw. Your soul felt it. There is something sacred behind those tears, something that can no longer be ignored. And if you have made it this far, it was not by chance. You were guided, because there are moments in life when the weight overflows, when the heart can no longer bear everything in silence, and then it speaks, not with words, but with tears. You might even try to convince yourself that it was just exhaustion, just another hard day, just a stray memory that came back. But the truth is, there is a hidden call in that cry, a silent cry for help, coming from the deepest part of you. Perhaps you are facing a pain that no one understands. Perhaps you miss someone who shouldn't be part of your life anymore, but who somehow still occupies a space in your chest. Maybe you woke up with a heavy heart, remembering a connection that marked you so deeply that nothing seems the same afterward. Perhaps you are dealing with the silence of someone who once promised to be present. Maybe you are wondering why you feel so much, why you can't just move on like everyone says you should. And the answer is not in the world's answers. It is within you. This pain that pulses inside, this knot in your throat that refuses to go away, this longing that seems endless, may be directly linked to the most intense and transformative spiritual journey a soul can experience, the journey of twin flames. And if this is your case, then you need to understand that what you are living goes far beyond human love. It goes far beyond romance. It is an experience that touches the spirit, that reveals old wounds, that opens portals of healing, and often begins with silent tears in the middle of any night. Here, in this space, you don't have to pretend to be okay. You don't have to hide your sensitivity. Here, your pain will be heard, welcomed, and understood, because there is a greater meaning in everything you are living, even if it now seems only confusion, longing, and loss. There is a purpose even in the tears you shed today, and that is what we are going to talk about what lies behind the tears that no one sees, about the signs of the soul, about the cycles that come to an end, and the invisible new beginnings that are already being sown. If something inside you has already started to recognize itself in this beginning of conversation, if you felt that this message has to do with what you are living, then I invite you to subscribe to this channel now and share this video with someone you feel also needs this word. Sometimes the universe uses exactly these unexpected encounters to deliver the answer we were silently asking for. Stay with me until the end, because this message has something to reveal to your soul, and you will understand why you cried today. There is a pain that is not easily explained, a pain that settles in the middle of the chest, as if something has been torn away, but without leaving a visible mark. And the most confusing thing is that many times, this pain arrives without warning. It appears amidst the routine, in the silence of the room, at the moment when everything seems calm on the outside, but a whirlwind begins to spin inside. You might be trying to carry on with life, moving forward, doing what needs to be done, but at some point in the day, it comes back. That memory, that absence, that feeling that something was broken, and that no matter how hard you try to glue it back together, it will never be the same again. Maybe you are grieving a separation. Maybe you are dealing with the distance of someone who still pulses within you. Or maybe there wasn't even a real ending, but a silent distancing, a disconnection that happened without explanation. And that hurts more than if there had been a fight, a goodbye, a conversation, because silence hurts. The lack of answers corrodes. You start to question whether everything you felt was real, whether everything you lived had real meaning, whether it was just you who dove too deep while the other was already leaving inside. And then the feelings of confusion, abandonment, and doubt are born. You start to wonder where you went wrong, if you talked too much, if you were too intense, if you gave yourself too soon. This is a pain that many people carry silently, the pain of feeling too much, of connecting with someone so deeply that, when that connection breaks or distances itself, it feels like a part of your very soul has been taken away with it, and the world outside doesn't understand. They say it's just another love, that it's just a phase, that you will get over it. But you know it's not like that, because it wasn't just anyone. It wasn't just any story. There was something different. There was a bond that transcended understanding, an exchange of glances that said everything without words, a recognition that came from another time, from another place. It was as if you had known each other even before you met, and now all of that seems lost. What was certainty has turned into doubt. What was presence has turned into silence, and you find yourself trying to understand what happened. Why what seemed so strong fell apart so quickly. Why someone who said they loved you simply left, or changed, or distanced themselves. And this is where one of the greatest pains of the journey begins, trying to understand the inexplicable, trying to make sense of something that seems illogical. But there is a meaning, even if it is still hidden. There is a purpose in this pain, even if all you can feel right now is emptiness. You are not alone in this experience. There are thousands of people awakening to the same reality, feeling the same intensity, facing the same emptiness. And that is why talking about it is so necessary. Because what you feel is real. It is valid. It is profound. It is not an exaggeration. It is not weakness. It is not neediness. It is spiritual. It is energetic. It is part of a process that, despite being painful, is leading you to a reunion with something much greater, with yourself. Before understanding the other, before seeking the return of those who have gone, there is something that needs to be seen within you. You may be wondering if all of this is your fault, if you should have done things differently, if there was a way to avoid this end. But what if, in fact, it was not an end? What if it was a beginning, a portal, a calling? And what if your soul is using this pain as a way to awaken you to something you have not yet been able to see? This is the question that begins to change everything, because when the heart breaks, it opens. And when it opens, the spirit begins to speak. There are pains that are not just emotional, they are spiritual. And this is one of the first revelations that manifest when entering the twin flames journey. What you feel now, this longing that tears you apart, this absence that cannot be filled with distractions, this desire to understand why everything changed so suddenly, is not just the result of human feelings. It is an energetic movement. It is a calling that comes from the soul. And this calling often begins with pain, because pain has the power to cut through the veil of illusions and make us see beyond the surface. When two twin flames meet, something awakens. It is not just a simple romantic meeting. It is not just compatibility of tastes or affinities. It is as if two souls that have known each other for millennia finally recognize each other in this plane. And this recognition is intense, transformative, and inevitable. But it is also challenging, because upon recognizing each other, these two parts become mirrors of one another. And what the mirror reveals is not always beautiful. It is not always easy to face. The other begins to reflect the deepest wounds, the oldest fears, the quietest insecurities. And that is where the true spiritual conflict begins. You may have felt that this person completed you, understood you without the need for explanations, looked at you like no one ever has. And all of this is real. But it is also real the moment when this same person begins to provoke discomfort, to make you feel rejection, abandonment, doubt. This does not mean that love has ended. It means that the purification process has begun. The twin flames journey is not about perfect romance. It is about awakening. And awakening is not always gentle. Often it is painful, because it requires you to release everything that is not true within you. Everything that is based on ego, attachment, control, the need to be loved to feel whole. The separation between twin flames, no matter how cruel it may seem, is a common phase of this journey. It is the moment when the universe intervenes, so that each one dives into themselves, so that the truth reveals itself beyond expectations, idealizations, projections. The ego does not accept this easily. It wants answers, wants security, wants guarantees. It fights to maintain the connection at any cost, even if that means nullifying itself, belittling itself, losing itself. But the soul has another path. The soul knows that distance is not punishment. It is realignment. The soul understands that there is a time to unite and a time to separate, and that many times it is in separation that the true purpose of the meeting is revealed. What the universe hears behind your cries, your despair, your silent prayers, is not just a request to return. It is a request for a reunion with yourself. Because deep down, what hurts is not just the absence of the other. It is the disconnection from oneself. And the pain comes to warn that something is out of place, that you have strayed from your essence, that you have given too much to the other, and forgotten to take care of what is within. This is the revelation that often comes amidst the chaos. When everything seems lost, what is happening, in fact, is a repositioning of the soul. You are not being punished. You are being awakened. The journey of twin flames is a path of deep healing, but before healing comes the exposure of the wound. Before the light comes the confrontation with the shadows. And that is where many give up. Because they expected romantic love but received mirrors. They expected stability but received internal earthquakes. But all of this is part of it. It is part of it because the twin flame did not come just to make you happy. It came to make you true. And the truth, before liberating, confronts. If you feel that you are experiencing an end, you may indeed be living the end of a phase, the end of illusion, the end of dependence, the end of the old version of yourself, and at the same time, the beginning of something new, something that cannot yet be understood clearly, but is already forming within you. It is the beginning of reconstruction, and this reconstruction begins when you accept that not every separation is loss. Some are a direct call from the universe for you to finally look within. Pain, when it is truly embraced, begins to reveal layers that were dormant within the soul. At first, everything seems confusing. The heart cries out for answers. The body feels the absence as if a piece of itself is missing. The mind searches for explanations to try to rationalize what is, at its core, spiritual. But over time, and when you allow yourself to listen in silence, a new understanding begins to emerge. The same pain that seemed unbearable starts to transform into wisdom. The same absence that once crushed the chest begins to make space for an internal reunion. Because true healing does not happen when the other returns. It begins when you return to yourself. The twin flame journey, contrary to what many think, is not meant to complete anyone. It exists to reveal everything that needs to be healed, transformed, and reintegrated within you. The other simply awakens what was hidden. They activate memories, provoke reactions, touch old wounds that perhaps had not even been experienced in this life. And then, when the connection is interrupted or distanced, it is not love that is being taken away from you. It is the veil that is being torn. Because it is at that moment that you begin to see who you truly are, without the reflection of the other. And this revelation is painful, but it is also liberating. There comes a point in the process when silence ceases to be abandonment and begins to be opportunity. The retreat that was once seen as punishment becomes a sacred refuge. It is when you understand that there is profound wisdom in the periods when nothing happens on the outside, because it is exactly there that everything begins to happen on the inside. Silence allows the soul to reorganize, for emotions to be observed with more clarity, for the natural flow of energy to return to its place. And you begin to realize that you no longer need to chase after, beg, or force what time is not yet ready to return. This is the time of surrender, not of giving up, but of conscious letting go. Surrender does not mean accepting less than you deserve, but trusting that there is a greater plan, even if you cannot yet see it fully. It is recognizing that control is an illusion, and that often, by trying to force a reconnection, you are merely prolonging your own pain. True surrender happens when you accept that everything is exactly as it needs to be for your evolution to take place. And if there is to be a reunion, it will come at the right time, with new foundations, with spiritual maturity, with truth. Along this path, you will encounter the need to care for yourself differently. You will feel the call to retreat, to silence external opinions, to listen to your own heart without interference. You will realize that the cycles of the soul do not fit into societal patterns, that spiritual time does not follow human clocks. And then, little by little, you will begin to feel a new kind of peace, a peace that does not depend on the presence of the other, nor on the certainty of return, but on the deep connection with your own center. This healing phase is silent. Almost no one notices from the outside, but inside, it moves everything. It's like an invisible reconstruction, where you gather each piece of yourself that was forgotten, abandoned, or given to the other. You will be clearing away layers of pain, expectations, projections, and you will, little by little, become whole again. Because true healing is not about going back to how things were. It is about becoming who you never had the courage to be, out of fear of losing the love of the other. And then you understand that there is no definitive separation between two souls that recognize each other in essence. There is only a time of preparation, a time when each person needs to strengthen, cleanse, and balance themselves so that, if and when there is a reunion, it happens at a new level of consciousness, without the ties of attachment, without the pressure to fill voids, without the need to fit into roles that no longer make sense. This is the awakening that begins to reveal itself in silence, and it is in this silence that a new love is born, a love that starts with you, a love that does not need to be proved, chased, or begged for, a love that simply is, because before it can be lived between two, it must first be found within you. There comes a moment in the soul's journey when something inside you awakens irreversibly. It does not happen dramatically, nor does it always come with immediate clarity, but it comes with force. It is as if, after so much searching for answers in the other, you finally turn your gaze inward and begin to honestly listen to your own truth. It is in that instant that the reunion with the higher self becomes possible, because the higher self is not a distant mystical entity separate from you. It is the clearest, most conscious, most awakened part of your own essence. It has always been there, just waiting for you to stop fleeing from yourself. After the chaos of separation, the pain of silence, and emotional purification, the time for inner reconstruction arrives. And in this reconstruction, you realize that you are changing, that you no longer react as before, that you no longer despair for attention, that you no longer lose yourself in fantasies, that you no longer need the presence of the other to validate your worth. You begin to feel that you are enough, not out of pride or closure, but out of maturity, because you understood that no connection, no matter how intense, can replace your own center. And this is one of the clearest signs that you are accessing your personal power. Personal power is not a shout. It is a silence that carries firmness. It is the clarity of knowing what you deserve, and even more, what you no longer accept. It is the serenity of continuing to walk, even without guarantees, because there is a certainty within you that does not depend on external circumstances. It is the deep understanding that true love never comes accompanied by humiliation, fear, or scarcity. True love liberates, elevates, builds, and it inevitably starts with the love you cultivate for yourself. By accessing this new state of consciousness, you begin to attract different experiences, because your vibration changes. Your energy stops asking for salvation and begins to emanate presence. It stops begging for connection and starts to magnetize reciprocity. And it is here that the dynamic with the twin flame often changes as well. The other, feeling this transformation in you, may begin their own awakening process, because the connection between twin flames is never one-sided. It is reciprocal, even if at different times, and what one experiences in some way resonates in the field of the other. But at this point, something important happens. You are no longer attached to the need for reunion. You understand that if it happens, it will be a blessing. But if it doesn't happen, you will still be whole, because you have become what you were seeking. You have become your own source of light, your own healing, your own home. The journey has ceased to be about the other and has become about the truth. And when truth takes the place of illusion, a much stronger, more stable, and silently powerful love is born. This love is not measured by answered messages or constant presence. It is measured by the peace you feel in being who you are, without needing to adjust to be accepted. It reveals itself in the ability to remain open to love, even after pain. It manifests in the maturity of understanding that true love does not bind, does not demand, does not manipulate. It simply is. and it flows freely between souls that have learned to find themselves within. You become sovereign of yourself when you understand that nothing that is rightfully yours can be lost. What moves away does so out of a need for growth. What returns comes back transformed. What remains stays out of choice and not out of need. And this sovereignty is not coldness. It is elevated love. It is a connection with your essence. It is a deep respect for your journey and that of the other. And then, you understand something even greater. Love has not ended. It has simply changed form. It has ceased to be pain, anxiety, obsession, and has become presence, acceptance, meaningful silence. It has shifted from scarcity to abundance. Because when the soul returns to itself, everything around it reorganizes. And this is the true reunion, not when two people come back together, but when a soul returns to occupy its rightful place. If you have made it this far, you may have noticed that something within you has changed. Perhaps there is still pain, longing, doubts, but now these emotions no longer define you as they did before. They no longer control your steps. You have begun to awaken. And the awakening, no matter how subtle, is the turning point in the soul's journey. It is not a full stop. It is a new beginning where your truth becomes your north, where self-love ceases to be a discourse and becomes daily practice, where you learn to embrace yourself exactly as you are, without asking for permission to exist. It is here that the journey of the twin flames reveals its deepest face. Because in the end, it is not about reuniting with someone, but about reuniting with yourself. And when this reunion happens, when you turn inward, when you reconnect with your essence and your inner wisdom, everything changes. The way you love changes. The way you wait changes. The way you live changes. And it is in this state of consciousness that you stop seeking love and start being love. Nothing you have lived was in vain. Every tear, every silence, every apparent loss was a part of the process. It was necessary. And even if today there are still unanswered questions, trust, the answers will come at the right time. What matters now is that you are closer to yourself than you have ever been before. And when you are whole, the universe begins to respond differently. Synchronicities return, intuitions strengthen, connections clear up, energies align, and what truly belongs to you finds its way back. Perhaps you still feel the absence of that person. Perhaps you still dream of the reunion. That is human. That is understandable. But what you do with that feeling is what defines the new phase of your journey. You can remain trapped in the past, or you can honor it, thank it for everything it brought, and with courage, move forward. Not as one who gives up, but as one who chooses to trust. To trust that if it is meant to be, it will be. And if it is not, something even truer will come. Because the soul that reconnects with its light will never be left in the dark. If this message resonated with you, if it touched places that perhaps even you did not know still hurt, then this is the moment to take a deep breath and embrace everything you felt here. If you cried, allow those tears to carry away what needs to go. If you recognized yourself, embrace that recognition with care. And if something inside you is asking to continue, to not give up, then listen. That is your higher self whispering amidst the noise. It is saying that you are stronger than you think, wiser than you imagine, and more loved than you can comprehend right now. I want to invite you to continue this journey with me. This channel is a sacred space for reflection, healing, and transformation. Subscribe now to receive each new message that your soul needs to hear. Like this video if it resonated with you, and share it with someone who is going through the same journey. Sometimes a single word is what someone needs to not give up on themselves. And now, with truth and presence, I want to ask you, leave a sentence in the comments that summarizes what this message awakened in you. It can be a word, a feeling, a recognition. Write it as a testimony of your process, because when you verbalize what you feel, you begin to transform energy into awareness. And your story could be the light that another soul is needing to find. Always remember this: what is real does not get lost. What is true remains, even when everything changes. And what is of the spirit no distance can erase. When the soul aligns with its truth, the entire universe conspires for reconnection, with others or with oneself. Separation is just a chapter. Love is the whole book.